Welcome to StarTechies, my way to the world of technology. I'm Kristen and I'm the Communications Manager at Initio. Today we're joined by Paulina Olsson, the CEO and co-founder of Peppy Pals, a series of award-winning games, ebooks, movies and activities designed to teach children about social and emotional intelligence. So let's go straight to the interview. She's been praised by the King. She's been named as one of Sweden's top young leaders. And as I said, she's the CEO and co-founder of one of the world's most successful social entrepreneurship companies. And she's just 27 years old. So we're going to be talking to her all about Peppy Pals. And this is definitely a career journey that you will not want to miss.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I also want to add to the list that I'm also human. It sounded very like, wow. But yes, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Peppy Pals, and we develop digital and playful experiences that teaches kids between the age of 2 to 8 about social and emotional skills. And for those who doesn't know what that is, it's everything from being able to label your emotions and dealing with those, to collaborating with others, to feel empathy, to make responsible decisions, and really deal with the things that happens in life. And these skills are critical to our future success. And it's also one of the most sought after skills in the future workforce. So it's really essential for every child to grow up practicing these skills, just as math or coding is.
It's very exciting. We'll definitely go into Peppy Pals more and exactly why you started it and the like soon. But let's start with your background. Now, you studied Bachelor of Economics at Gothenburg. So why did you pursue this area of study?
So to be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I graduated high school when I was 18, and what I did know was that I really didn't feel like working or taking a gap year because I didn't know what I would do if I would take a gap year. And it felt like, well, studying is always a good option. So I applied to different business schools because that was something that I was interested in learning more about. And basically, started in Gothenburg and didn't really come across anything that had to do with tech until during my master's degree, which I studied in Copenhagen. And then it was more from the angle of entrepreneurship and, running your own business. And I really didn't think that creating or developing games would be something that I would get into. But I heard about the idea of Peppy Pals, which comes from our founder, Rosie. And she really wanted to create a bridge between kids and adults in talking about these important skills like empathy and emotions. And from a personal point of view, I had seen how much pressure that was put on my peers during my studies. And I also have family that have gone through quite severe mental health problems. And I felt very incapable of helping both family members and friends. And I realized that these skills are essential for all of us. And it's a lottery which ones that, can deal with the challenges that we're met by and those who can't. And when I heard about the idea, I felt like, I just want to do something around this. So I reached out to Rosie, and basically that's where it took off. I didn't really see myself as going into the tech industry, but it is really in the tech industry. And that was something that I never imagined when I applied to business school.
So how did you go about reaching out to Rosie? I think your story could really inspire others, as I think a lot of people find it very difficult to reach out and make that initial contact because it can be quite a scary thing.
So I'm strongly a promoter for just being curious and reaching out and talking to people because there's no danger in doing so. And the worst thing that can happen is that someone will say, you know what, we don't really need support, or I don't have time to bring in this case, an intern, because I said I'll happily work for free, just if I can do anything, because it's a wonderful idea. And I had heard about it from this accelerator program called STING, Stockholm Innovation and Growth. And that was through my bachelor thesis, actually, that I found out about it. And yeah, so I think I was just curious to learn more. And I just Googled, and when I got Rosie's attention, it was basically one of those movie scenes almost, where I emailed her on a Sunday evening. I was out picking mushrooms. 20 minutes later, I got an answer, and it was basically saying, hey, can you Skype in 30 minutes? And I was like, oh, I like this girl. She's fast and determined to just act on random emails, because my email must have been random. Yeah, we talked the day after, and since then, which is 5.5 years ago, we have not been able to not work together or spend our days together.
Obviously, this is an area that you're really passionate about. Would you also encourage others to take the time to really discover what their passion is and how this could translate into a career?
Yeah, so looking back at where I was when I reached out to Rosie, I was really in a situation where all of my friends and peers were starting to apply for different jobs, and most of them were within FMCG or like big corporates, you know, IKEA, H&M, McKinsey, like all of these big famous names. And I really felt that it was not something that I was enthusiastic about. Not saying that I, wouldn't encourage anyone to apply to that, but I really didn't feel this urge and passion. And I felt that there was something unexplored in another area, which wasn't what the majority of my friends did. So it was kind of scary to go against the crowd in a way, and do something different. But I really had this gut feeling of, and also like an inner compass guiding me, like this is what I should do. And I really encourage everyone to listen to their inner voice. And it doesn't mean that you have to know exactly what it is. I didn't know it would be working with game development and kids and emotional intelligence. I just knew that it wasn't going into big corporates. And then I just, followed that inner compass. And I strongly believe that you have that within you. So just be brave and listen to that, and don't follow what everyone else does just because that's the easy way or that's the comfortable way.
Okay, so you met Rosie 5.5 years ago. You Skyped and you immediately thought to yourself, oh, I really like her. So what was the next step for you on your Peppy Pals journey after this initial meeting?
So I still studied, and for me, it was important to finish my degree. So I always have that as a fallback. And for Rosie, it was also important to just, have, she encouraged me to do that. And we also, tried and make the setup as good as possible, because I was living in Copenhagen and she was in Stockholm and the team was in Stockholm. So I flew back and forth a little bit, and I also worked remotely. Now with Corona, everyone is working remotely, but that was new to me. And we basically started with me working part-time, and then, I just got so into the business. And what I really, really admired with her is that she really believed in me from day one. And she really encouraged me to, do new things, everything from creating pitch decks to investors to learning Photoshop and posting on social media about our brand. And I had only been working for a month. So I was like, oh, but I'm not, I don't know everything about emotional intelligence or Peppy Pals or anything, but she believed in me. And I think everyone should have a person that believes in them, which is something that I really want to encourage in the team that we have now, and also the people that I meet. After 6 months or so, I finished my degree and started Peppy Pals full time, and could say, yeah, I had probably worked full time already prior to that, but officially full time. Yeah, that's how it all got started.
Besides you and Rosie, who else makes up the Peppy Pals team?
So Peppy Pals has evolved a little bit from when we founded it and where we are right now, obviously, because we've been going strong for a lot of years. So now we have me and Rosie, we have developers, and we also have consultants that come in if we need animators, or our psychologist is also on a consultancy/volunteer basis. And that's because we're not focused on creating a lot of new content right now, whereas when we started, content was key. So then we had illustrator, lead designer, developers, animators, all working full time, and they're all co-founders. But as the company evolves, it became more important for us to focus on growth and marketing and getting the brand out there, and not so much on development. Because if you look at the kids media industry, it's kids love to consume the same content all like over and over again. So we paused that for a bit, but now we're slowly getting back to producing and developing again. So we might hire or work with more consultants going forward.
So back when you were just a small startup, what were some of the challenges you faced getting the business off the ground? Talk us through your startup journey.
I don't even know where to begin. As an entrepreneur and founder, you really have to have a strong belief in your idea, because you will be met with a lot of challenges, everything from funding to cutting through the noise and like getting your product out there. It is tough and it is challenging, and it's not something that you do over the course of a week or a month or a year. It takes several years, and it takes commitment and passion. Challenges, it's been everything from being two female founders talking about emotions and kids and trying to raise money, to competing about space in an industry where Disney owns 90% of the market, and getting your brand out there, to educating sometimes parents in what emotional intelligence is, because it's a fluffy new concept. It's not as straightforward as math or language. It's been quite a lot, and business model as well. A lot of iterations. But I think what makes us stand out is the fact that we all really believe in the change that we can make through our products, and we really believe there's a need for this. And I think this year, or maybe even last year, but especially this year, with everything happening in the world, from Corona to the election, to just seeing how diverse the nations are becoming, the more people realize that we need empathy. It's been lonely or emotionally challenging working from home, and you need to deal with your emotions, not only as an adult, but if you have kids at home, explaining to them why they can't see their grandma, friend, or why they all of a sudden need to be at home is a challenge. And realizing that, to be able to foster a future generation that is more kind and more human, these are the skills that we need. So I think 5-6 years ago, we were ahead of the industry, but now the market is slowly realizing that this is needed.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're speaking about a belief in yourself. As I said before, you were only 27 years old. Did you find when you were first starting with Peppy Pals that you really had to prove yourself? There might be a lot of young people that feel like they're not being heard by the older generation. How did you sort of push through those barriers Or did you have those barriers? First of all, perhaps you didn't.
No, I did. And I think a lot is in here, to be honest. I still have doubts sometimes where I feel I'm just a normal young girl, which I am, but there's nothing bad in that. And it's something that's inspiring. And, seeing young people is inspiring for the older generation, if you may call it that. But I really, I've felt when I've been in rooms presenting Peppy Pals or pitching to investors that I'm only 23 years old and I'm trying to sort of educate someone that is older than me, as well as try to be professional and try to convince someone why they should, for instance, invest in me. That I have felt I've been met with skepticism, and in the end, I really think it is in my head. And what I've come back to every time is really to believe in myself. And when I believe in myself, that will shine through. And the confidence that you built within you, even though a pitch in your head might have gone wrong, or you feel like what you wanted to say didn't come across in the way that you had thought it would, that's you criticizing yourself. No one has said that. And you can learn from that, but you should learn by boosting yourself and building your confidence. Because I believe every young 18-year-old or 20-year-old, 25-year-old, they are our future leaders. And that's what the people in the room that you might think is criticizing you or looking at you with skepticism is thinking or should be thinking. And if they're not, then that's a shame. Then they've missed something. But it takes time to build that. And you need people to surround yourself with people that encourage you, which Rosie really has done with me.
I was about to ask if you have any sort of tips for people about how to build self-confidence, but perhaps it is just to surround yourself with a very supportive circle to start with, at least.
And be curious and ask. Like, there are always things that you can improve, and confidence is built through failures. So celebrate failures, and confidence is built through or by a willingness to evolve and develop and really put yourself in situations where you feel a bit uncomfortable. Because when you manage those situations or when you succeed, that's when you build confidence.
Was there any particular time during the Peppy Pals process when you were building up the business that you sort of doubted yourself, and how did you work through that? Was there times that you felt really tested?
And I think what really helped when me and Rosie, we got several no's from investors, or we applied for grants that we didn't get, or we tried to pitch a partnership with a client and they turned us down. In all of those moments, it is a roller coaster, and we were able to pick ourselves up by either, we never had a dip at the same time. So it was like, maybe I went home and I felt, oh, this went so awfully bad. And, we're 2 months, we only have 2 months runway and I don't know what to do. And Rosie would be there and but come on, we got this. And this just means that we're destined for something else, which we were at that point, but sort of giving each other a boost. And when she was in one of those pitfalls, I was the one hey, come on, let's keep running and we're on to something, and look at what we've accomplished. And in my darkest moments, I always think of the impact that we make with Peppy Pals. And I've said it before, if there's one child that I know we're impacting, if one child is playing our game or app or watching our TV series or reading one of our books, then I know there's one child that will grow up with more skills or tools in his or her backpack to be able to deal with life. And that's one life saved, in my view. So that's what I always tell myself when I'm in that rotten place. But I also allow myself to be there. So, things will be tough. And that's all part of starting your business.
Okay. Well, here's a positive question then. What were some of the key highlights of the process when you were starting your business? What was one of the first, like, oh my goodness, or it's working, it's happening moments?
Yeah, you get adrenaline kicks from a lot. Everything from just getting a grant or signing a partnership or seeing a peak in downloads all of a sudden. And but I think that there are a few really big highlights, like getting our TV series on Viaplay. That was huge for us. And it was really such a great collaboration too. And that was huge. And that's 3 years ago. And then another like dream come true and like something where I still have to pinch my arm is when Lego reached out to us and said, we're setting up this venture arm that will invest in companies going beyond the bricks and looking at what skills we'd like to teach our kids through play. And one of them is social and emotional skills. And you seem to be in the forefront of this. And this is about 2.5 years ago, which eventually led to them investing in Peppy Pals. And I still can't believe that they're our investor and a partner in our journey, because, as I said earlier, there had been a lot of no's prior to that, and a lot of like, oh, I don't know if I can do this another time around. But apparently that was worth all of the no's were worth it, because we ended up with probably the best partner one could have. So that's also a big highlight, and all of the people that you've met, like social entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, and just how supportive everyone is of one another and how open you are to like sharing your network or sharing your pitfalls and like just learning from each other. I think it's a really nice community that I'm so grateful that I've established and also know, and I'm happy to share.
So you'd say it's a welcoming community for teenagers that are watching this now thinking, I want to join the Stockholm startup scene, because it's quite a hot area. The Stockholm startup scene is very well known throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
How would they take that initial step? What recommendations would you give them?
So when I started looking into the startup field, I just Googled the different programs that exist, like incubators, accelerators, looking at the companies that had been part of that and reaching out to the people there and saying, I'm not sure now with Corona if there are any events, but just reaching out and see if you can join one of those. Or there are a lot of Slack channels where you can just post and say, hey, I'm interested in this area, if it's marketing or if it's development, or if it's just, hey, I don't know, I just want to get to know someone that's working within education or finance or health or climate, and just intern a day. And I think by interning or perhaps writing a project for a startup, you learn a lot about the startup scene, and don't be afraid of asking for help. I think that was something that I was a bit hesitant with. So, oh gosh, can I really reach out to this person, or can I ask for an introduction to that man or woman that I don't know? And like, there's nothing scary in that. People will answer. And as I said earlier, the worst thing that can happen is that you get a no or a later And yeah, just ask for help. I think that's good.
As we previously discussed, you have a background in economics, not in tech per se. But Peppy Pals is a company with a large tech component. Did this feel quite daunting to start with, and you felt the need to hone your tech skills?
Yeah, but I also allowed myself to be naive and not really knowing what coding was or is sometimes still. I mean, we're always experimenting with new technology like emotion tracking or augmented reality. And there are certain things that I don't need to know, and where it's good that I am naive, that I don't come from a tech background. And there are other areas where it's good for me to at least have the basic knowledge. And then again, I ask my team members and developers, like, can you show me, or how complex is this? I don't know how this function. Will that take a week? Will that take a month? Is that something that is challenging, new? Like, just getting the context that I need. And then obviously throughout the years I've been working with Peppy Pals, I've learned a lot and can navigate the field better now. But I really didn't see it as a negative thing, not knowing anything about tech. That's, I talk about finding your genius, and your genius is something that you really enjoy doing, something that you're really great at, and something obviously that is needed in the company, or the field that you're in. And you shouldn't spend time on the things that isn't your genius. Sometimes, you'll have to do certain tasks. But for instance, coding for me, it's not my genius. It's not something that I'm great at or passionate about. And then that's something that someone else should do, and something where I should empower and encourage that person and learn from that person. And whereas I have other abilities that they can learn from me, or that I should pursue because that's what I'm best at. And that's what make up a great team.
Now, Peppy Palace has books, soft toys, songs, its own TV series. Why did you initially decide to create the app, the game app, as a base for Peppy Pals?
So the thing, as I mentioned, Rosie, the founder, when she got the idea, she based it on her experience with her own two daughters. And she felt that they were playing a lot of games that were very stereotypical, like putting makeup on Barbie dolls and horse games for girls. And she could see that a lot of boys played a lot of shooting games or racing games. And she really felt the frustration that, we should use the power of games to something more meaningful. And we should use it as a tool where we can bridge kids and adults. So we invite adults to be a part of kids' world, because games and apps and the digital play is here to stay. So we can't say, I don't want to be a part of that as an adult because it's new and I've never grown up with that myself. We have to take the step into the world our kids are in and try and help shape that world into a kind of inclusive community with the products that we put into that. So that's when she thought, like, okay. And she also had an idea that she wanted to teach kids these skills, and she had a hard time knowing how to explain empathy for her daughters, or how to talk about emotions in a fun way, and in a more concrete way. So that's when she thought of the idea of how hard can it be to gamify emotional intelligence. And that was quite naive because no one had done it. And when we launched the first app, we were the first ones in the world to do it without using language, and instead use a lot of visual stories, and based on our 5 characters that kids got to know through the stories. And I think that's what made the foundation. And then as we have grown the company, as you mentioned, it has evolved into a TV series and into books. and more of like a holistic way of looking at learning and education for kids. And that was not something that we planned when we started. So when we started, it was the idea and vision of, becoming the next, one of our role models were Toca Boca, which was a very famous kids app developer and still is, that Bonnier found, or not founded, but like funded. And we really saw them as like, okay, we want to become the Toca Boca for kids, focusing on emotional intelligence. So just not play and like their apps, but really having a niche. But it was very costly and time consuming developing games and apps all the time. And you also listen to the market where, the age group that we're targeting, it's great to combine physical and digital for a better learning experience. And they are consuming different digital media like TV series and games. So we really wanted to make sure it became a 24/7 concept instead of just being, you can play with Peppy Pals app for 30 minutes on a Saturday. So yeah, that's how it all came about.
So when Peppy Pals was launched, it was a completely new, innovative concept, the merging of tech and emotional intelligence for children. So it's certainly not a stretch to say that it was a completely niche area. So how was it received by the market? Was there some confusion when it originally launched, or was it immediately embraced?
No, so I would say that we were met with a lot of praise and love from the market. When we launched the first app, we were featured by Amazon and Google worldwide. And Amazon even sent a film team to record a story about us, because it was very innovative and new. And what we didn't expect when we launched was actually that a lot of families with kids within special needs like ADHD or autism, they were really, really like praising the app because they had lacked, there wasn't any tool talking about emotions, and they have more difficulties in like learning to regulate emotions. But Peppy Pals is for all kids. So we've never intended to just focus on a certain specific target group in terms of special needs or not, and all kids can use it. But that was something that was very surprising and very uplifting in a way. And then throughout our time, it's really just been met with love. And Rosie's story as a founder is also unique, and our collaboration is also very unique. Like I don't know how old she is now, or young she is now, but she's over 50. And when I joined, I was just 22. And she's honestly my best friend and my partner in mind and in crime and in business. And we work so great together, which is quite rare. So that has also become an inspiration and a story, which I think, a lot of people can learn from and also be inspired by.
So where's Peppy Pals going to from here? You've got a lot of new developments. You have a collaboration with Coop, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that right? So what's on the horizon for Peppy Pals? You've already gone and done so much. What's next?
It's a very exciting time to be in. And I think what's really motivating me to continue running the business is that we've successfully built an IP around these characters. And as you mentioned, this year we have a big collaboration with Coop and developing an augmented reality app in their stores that is piloting right now in certain stores in Stockholm. At the same time, we've also gotten a lot of external requests from companies, everything from Kahoot to Lego, and where they are looking to implement social and emotional learning into their experiences, and where we are seen as experts in the field. And that has opened up a new business area, but also possibility to impact millions of kids. So we're slowly setting up an agency as well. So we have our own IP and we have our agency that is supporting other brands in developing similar experiences, but with their characters or with their IP. And that's super exciting. So one of the campaigns that we've been working on with Kahoot, for instance, is developing quizzes for teachers, over 6 million teachers that in school is having lessons where they have kids answering quizzes through their platform about emotions and about certain problems or like topics that they encounter in school. And with Lego, we're working on a digital well-being and being kind online campaign, which is super exciting. So things are evolving, and we've always been just following the market in that sense.
Sounds like you're really using technology to really change and impact the world in a variety of different ways. So it's extremely positive. Now, I mentioned before, speaking of your individual achievements as well, that you were praised by the King. And you were recognized for having worked with value-based leadership to teach children about soft human values and empathy using technology. So can you tell us about the moment when you realized that you'd won the King of Sweden's Young Leadership Scholarship?
Yeah, so that was a very special moment for me. I, as I mentioned earlier, I still have doubts, but at that time I doubted that I was an inspiration and a leader in any sense. And when I at first got a nomination for the award, I figured like, okay, this must be Rosie that nominated me. And then I asked her and she was like, no, it wasn't me. And I was like, oh, wow. Then someone that I'm not aware of have seen me somewhere and nominated me, which was, the first like really aha moment for me. And it made me think about my leadership and also realizing that you don't have to be a leader at a big company or having 40 years of experience to call yourself a leader. You as a person and everyone listening to this, we're all leaders, and it's a matter of how we show up as human beings, as a friend, as a partner, as a colleague. And in doing so, we're leading and inspiring other people to act with the values that we do. And apparently I had managed to do that with one person, and then I answered the questions, and there were interviews and tests, and eventually it was just 10 that were selected as like, these are the candidates. And then that trickled down to 4 of us getting the award. And that's still like a moment where my jaw dropped in a way, because it shifted my perception of myself, and it really boosted my self-image. And what I really want to use my voice for after having experienced that is that it shouldn't require the King of Sweden to have someone realize that they're a leader by just leading by example. And just because I got the award, it doesn't mean that everyone listening to this is not a leader. And that's what I try to exemplify with my value-based leadership, for instance. So leading with being humble and caring, leading by being brave. And like, as I said, going against the crowd when I was studying is being brave. We all do something that is brave on a daily basis, I believe. And just acting on my passions. And I believe everyone can act on their passions. And in doing so, be a leader.
Speaking about bravery and self-perception, now you went to Australia, to Macquarie University. Did that challenge you? Did you really find out who you were being in a strange country? Do you think that really made you grow as a person?
Being down under.
As an Australian, what did you think of Australia?
It was great. I lived in Sydney for 6 months, and it was during my bachelor's, so it was an exchange semester. And that was the first time that I really moved far, far away from my family and friends. And that was the intention. So I really wanted to take myself out of my comfort zone, because that's, as I said earlier, when you build confidence and you realize things about yourself and you get to know new people that have become your best friends. I'm still, like, one of my best friends from Sydney is still one of my closest friends, even though she lives in California. So that was, it gave me a lot of perspective. And it also made me realize that, we all come from such different backgrounds, and there's something wonderful about that we should appreciate, which is why I, with Peppy Pals, really enjoy teaching kids about diversity and inclusiveness, because having an openness towards people was really key in my experience in Sydney, being curious and getting to know other people and appreciating their differences and asking questions to learn about their culture, and not just having prejudice and saying, no, I'm just going to hang out with Scandinavians, because I could have done that too. So that was great. And then also, just for the first time doing something on my own, it made me grow 10 centimeters taller, and just, really made me believe more in myself.
Well, you've given some really good life advice in general. When some of the students are picking their subjects for high school or for university, is there any advice you'd give them just about that choice, about career choices?
So what I would have wanted someone to tell me, if I put myself in the shoes where I was at, and probably where a lot of you are, I would have encouraged you to think, like, what do I want to do, and not what is cool and what is everyone else choosing or doing, but really ask yourself what's important to me, and what do I want to do. And in answering that question, you might find yourself at a state where I really don't know. Like, there are many things that I could think of, and oh geez, what will be right or wrong? And that's where you should stop yourself and think that there's not a right or wrong choice or option. And sometimes you might open a door and start studying, or take a gap year, or choose a course that you feel like, this wasn't really what I wanted. And that's great. Then you know that that's not the road you want to go down. And then you just change. You can always change your mind. And in, like, just taking those small steps, you learn a lot about your inner passions and your own inner compass. And what's most important is that you learn to listen to yourself and believe in, like, pursuing your own goals. So you don't have to make the choice seem like, if I choose wrong now, my life is over. It's not. It's only the beginning. And sometimes there's a quote by Winnie the Pooh that I really like, and it's like, it's something like, when you're not sure where you're going, I just stop, and then it comes to me. So you really don't have to know, because you have a stronger inner compass, and just believe in that good things will happen to you regardless of the choices that you make.
Amazing. And you even used a Winnie the Pooh quote. Fantastic.
I don't know exactly what it is. I want to find it now, because it's really good. I love Winnie the Pooh.
You can't go wrong with Winnie the Pooh. Okay, I think we probably have some questions from the audience now. So let's see what people watching want to know about your journey. Okay, a question from Maria. If you could choose a Peppy Pals animal, which Peppy Pals animal would you be?
So this is actually a great question because the different animals, they have different personalities and different traits. So Gabby the rabbit, for instance, is shy and sensitive, but also very warm-hearted. And whereas Reggie is more outgoing and adventurous and ends up in tricky situation. And I've always said that I'm a mix between Sammy the horse, who's very loyal and want everyone to just be friends, and he's very supportive and listens, so he's a great listener, which is some of my core strengths, I think, as a person. But then I'm also a bit like Gabby, which is I have been very shy as a child. So if I was 4 years old today, I would pick Gabby. Whereas now I've evolved into a Sammy, or so I would pick those two. Those are my favorite.
And how do you think you evolved from, you lost that shyness and evolved into Sammy?
I try and ask my parents that question every time I meet them. But I think just having an encouraging, supportive surrounding that told me that it's okay to fail, and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations is good. And even if it means that you're taking baby steps, then those are huge steps for you. So try and celebrate that and not compare yourself to others. And there's nothing wrong in being Gabby either.
No, that's true. Definitely. There's definitely nothing wrong with being shy. Okay, what has been your biggest win so far?
Win in terms of life or business, or
you can answer both, life and business.
Interpret it as I want. I think meeting Rosie. It's gonna sound like a cliche, but that's my biggest win in life. We have so much fun, and we have taught each other so many things, and I couldn't imagine life without her. And then from a business perspective, I think the moment that we found out that Lego Ventures decided to invest in our company, paired with the many testimonials that we get from parents, and the moments when I see a child playing Peppy Pals and laughing, and just you see the power that is within the scenarios. Those would be the biggest wins in business.
Let's see what the next question is. What is the difference between an entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur?
Good question. So the difference, my personal opinion, is that a social entrepreneur is focused on solving a problem in the world that is either tied to the Sustainable Development Goals, which could be anything from peace, climate, education, health, and there are many goals, 17. So it's something that is improving the world or the society, or having a positive impact in a person's individual's life. Whereas an entrepreneur could be someone that is setting up a business without having the intention of doing so. It might still lead to a positive impact, but or it might not. It could just be someone that is founding a business that doesn't necessarily lead to a better, and not perhaps worse, but just a business.
For someone starting their first company, what would be your biggest tip?
Ask for help. You will, and also embrace being humble. So you will wear a lot of different hats, and you will do some shitty work in terms of like the tasks that you perhaps don't find fun at all. Like if you're not a numbers person, then sitting with financial forecasts will seem like a nightmare. And in those moments, ask for help, because you will be surprised over how much help you could get, and be curious to learn from others. And in the same time, you can also share learnings if you love sitting with financial forecasts, or if you're great at social media or creating content, then that's something that you can inspire and teach someone else. So it's a give and get kind of thing. And then another tip is just get going. It might sound like the average tip, but sometimes when you start running, you will come to a crossroad where you will learn more things. And like, as you run, your company grows and evolve, and your normal or initial idea might not be what you end up like. With Peppy Pals, we just wanted to create mobile games, but it turned into an IP, and now even a consultancy helping other brands. And I didn't know that 5 years ago or 6 years ago. So you don't have to have all the answers, and all the even if you think you have, they will change.
Is Disney one of your dream partners?
Yeah, it would be wonderful to work with Disney. They do amazing work, and they have friendship and kindness incorporate into their brands, but I believe there's a lot more one can do with intention in the characters and the content that they create. So yeah, it would be wonderful.
Is there any specific milestone you are looking forward to reaching or looking at achieving?
Oh, great question. This was a while ago I thought of this. I would love to work with like a global campaign or partnership on a long-term scale. It could be Disney, it could be UNICEF, it could be a big brand where we are impacting millions of kids in areas where you might not really have easy accessibility to these skills. So perhaps more remote areas, or something where I believe it could be refugee camps, or something where kids are going through strong emotions, where I believe we can have a massive impact. That's one thing that I would see as a huge milestone. And then another milestone would also be the day where I leave the role as a CEO to another young, aspiring, maybe female, it could be male, but someone else, where I can see Peppy Pals and the company we've built continue to live on, and really have its own legs, but where I feel like we now have the team where everyone should be able to present Peppy Pals, but where I feel like it's now grown into that company where I don't have to be a part of it, even though I might want to. But that would be a great milestone as well.
And when that moment happens, where do you think you'll be going after that period? Do you have anything in mind? Or you haven't thought about it yet? It's not on the very near horizon.
Well, I'm a strong believer that my inner compass will know where I would go next when I'm at that time, or at that stage in life. Maybe becoming a mom. That could be something.
Definitely. Perfect. Well, that was the last question. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your extremely inspirational story. I know you're very humble, but I think you've had this incredible career journey, and you really should celebrate that. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And if there's anyone wanting to ask more questions of this talk, then just send me an email to paulina@peppypals.com or add me on LinkedIn or wherever you find me. And I'll happily answer or just give a piece of advice if there's anything I can do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you've already given so much wonderful life advice already and a Winnie the Pooh quote. So what more could we ask for?